Today we have a guest, a very special guest at that. Dr. Grace Yum is a pediatric dentist. She's a mom, most importantly, and an entrepreneur. Kind of a rare set of skills, certainly of the guests that we usually have. She's done some really cool stuff in the industry if you don't already know about her. She saw this gap in the community and support for kind of mom dentists. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the No BS Dental Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Pistorius, and today we have a guest, a very special guest at that. Dr. Grace Yum is a pediatric dentist. She's a mom, most importantly, and an entrepreneur. Kind of a rare set of skills, certainly of the guests that we usually have. She's done some really cool stuff in the industry if you don't already know about her. She founded and grew a private practice. I think it was named Yummy Dental and Orthodontics for Kids. I think we had 2 locations there, but she saw this gap in the community and support for kind of mom dentists, if you will. So in 2017, she actually created Mommy Dentists in Business. It's like a network and community for dentists who are also parents and business owners. Really, really cool stuff, very niche. But through this community, and she'll tell us all about it, but she launched the Mommy Dentists in Business podcast, where she interviews dentists and professionals all around the world, kind of blending dentistry with business and motherhood and personal growth. I think we focus so much sometimes on the business side of things that we forget about the personal growth, what you're doing when you're not being a dentist. So anyway, Dr. Yum, thanks so much for being on the show today. I'm really looking forward to getting some answers from you.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here, and I love that it's no BS because I'm all about no BS.
Perfect. Well, then let's get right to it then. So
right.
What motivated you to build this network? Why, what was going on in your life where you're like, you know what, I'm going to put some of this aside and go start this?
Well, that's a really good question. And for me, I felt that there was no community for what I wanted. And there was a lack of camaraderie. Being a dentist, entrepreneur, business owner, multiple locations, and you're teaching residents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then you've got 2 young kids under the age of 3, right? There's a lot of times you just feel lonely. Nobody understands what you're going through unless they're literally walking in your shoes, not your spouse, not your family, unless they're a family of dentists and they did it as well. But I, at the time, in 2017, felt overwhelmed, overworked. I'm definitely a workaholic, and my body, in my brain, I don't think I'm stressed, but my body will tell me I'm stressed if it starts to break down. But in my brain, again, I'm like, whatever, this is the new normal. This is how we function. I thrive in stress. I thrive in high, pressure environment type of person. I'm that type of person, but it does get lonely at the top, right? And when you are a mom and that is your number one priority, or you're the primary caregiver, it's hard to go to meetings. It's hard to go to your local dental society meeting, or you're on the way and then your nanny calls at 6 p.m. You've just closed up shop. You're going to the meeting. You need your CE and you need to talk to people and you want to drink your wine. And she's like, your 2-year-old has 103-degree fever and throwing up. What are you going to do? You just have to turn the car around and go home. And that was my life for many years. And again, no one to talk to about the challenges, I would say, or best practices. Like, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How are you juggling mom life and being an entrepreneur? How do you do both things and do them both well? Because there were certainly times where my husband pulled me aside and said, "You're not doing anything well."
Wow. Yeah, that's no BS right there,
Right.
right?
Right. It's tough love, but you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you're right. He's like, you're running around with your chicken cut off. He's like, I say this with love, but you're not doing all the things you're setting out to do well. And when you're married for that long, you can, talk to each other like that and not get into a huge fight. And you're just like, you just slam the brakes and you're like, oh my God, the record player just stopped at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what advice do you have for female dentists who are trying to do both? They're trying to juggle parenting, practice management, personal well-being, all that stuff. What are some specific things that somebody can do?
Well, I've had a long time to try to figure this out, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm still doing it. And honestly, my message is very loud and clear. You need to have people that you hire and pay money to delegate to free up your time. And I really, not conceptually, not theoretically, it's a very basic principle. It's called the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule. And 80% of your outcomes come from the 20% of what you focus on. And is my time worth spent doing the dishes and folding laundry? No, it's not. Like, I know that my output and what I'm capable of and what I want to do, especially if I want to run a business and be there for my family, is to outsource. I
Yeah.
have to outsource as much as I can. And that is not a cost, right? A lot of it's a mindset thing. A
That's
lot of
right.
women or spouses think it's a cost, an added cost. And I'm like, no, you know why? It's an investment. It's an investment in you, it's an investment in your marriage, it's an investment in your children. And you can start with something very easy, like hiring the college kid or the high school kid that lives on your block. Free up maybe start with something small. Start with date night with your spouse. Hey, how many times do you forgo date night? So we made a commitment that every week we had a rotation of babysitters. We had 5 babysitters. And every week we said, we don't need to have a standing Thursday night reservation. We just pick a night in the week where we have 2 hours to ourselves and we leave the house and we have dinner and we need to be ourselves without the kids. And that was where it started, right? And then it finally evolved and morphed into, we need a cleaning lady. We need this, we need that. And again, those things that happen in the house is a conversation between you and your partner. But if you think about it, when you're at the dental office, the dentist isn't doing all the things in the dental office, right?
Right. Right.
Because that wouldn't make any sense, right?
Yep.
Right, right. So it wouldn't make sense for me, the dentist, who has 5 chairs going, to sit there and do sterile. Same concept. It is the same exact concept. So you as a mom, when you go home after a 12-hour day, because sometimes I had 12-hour days, I would have to go to the hospital. I have 3 GA surgery cases. I leave at 6:30, come home at 6:30. And it's like, you are beat. You are tired. You want a massage. You want to put your feet up. But is it gonna, and then the thing is, and maybe Chris, you can relate to this. Sometimes when you go home and you park your car and you're in the garage or on the driveway, you're like, I don't even want to go in the house. But I'm like, I know what hell waits for me. Like crying toddlers, dirty diapers,
Yeah.
toys everywhere. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even want to walk into that threshold. Like,
Yeah.
it's easier for me to stay at work, right? Like,
Yeah.
because it's
Especially when the kids were younger.
right
I'd be
when the
like,
kids are babies. I'm like, you
yeah.
have control at work. No, there's no mess. No one's like
That's right.
crying. No one's throwing up. Like, so sometimes you sit there in the garage and you're like, you look at that door and you're like, I just need like a few minutes inside of my car, just before you brace yourself to go in there. And so for all the young parents listening right now, you probably know what I'm talking about. And then as your kids get bigger, bigger kids, bigger problems, right? So, and then their attention and the demands and the needs are different. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great answer. There's a book, I don't know if you've read it, but it's by, I believe it's Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks a lot about what you just mentioned. Like, everybody thinks of like hiring a housekeeper or, whatever it might be as that cost, but how much is your own time worth? And
Exactly.
when you do have your own time, should it really be doing dishes and, vacuuming and things like that? Is that the stuff you really want to do and enjoy? If so, great. But if it's not, then it totally makes sense to hire somebody $20 an hour to do some of those things for you, because your time is worth something, you know?
Exactly.
So,
And I tell the women dentists, because again, it's a mindset thing. If you just let go, let's just say budget out $300, right? That's like 4 dental sealants, you guys. That's like treating and, looking at an 8-year-old patient and putting on 1, 2, 3, 3, 14, 19, 30 sealants. Done. You just paid for $300 worth of hours, whatever, in sealants. Not even giving an injection, undoing a DO or an MOD or a crown. Now, imagine if you did a crown for what, 12, $1,300. Imagine what kind of level assistant you could get. You could get an AI assistant or remote assistant, or you can get a personal assistant and work your way up to that level. Get a housekeeper. But again, I frame it in a way that dentists can make sense. Oh my God, it's just an extra crown. Come on, a week.
right. Yep. That's absolutely the truth. And I've we've incorporated this a little bit in our lives here. And at first I was kind of like that too. I was like, yeah, man, do we really want to pay this to have somebody, pick up the poop in our from our dogs in the yard, But we've started doing some of these things, especially with home services, and it's made a huge impact. We're able to do more things together, and more things that we want to do versus things that we have to do.
Well,
So
here's the other element, Chris. And I love that you mentioned that, because it's a shift, because once you do it, you can't go without it. Now you can't go
yeah,
back,
it's true.
right?
It's true.
But the other element is the mental load that we all have as doctors, as dentists of our practices. You don't turn off your brain, right? You come home and you still think about, okay, you know what, that margin didn't look so good, or okay, you know what, that denture didn't fit so good. Okay, there's a mental load that comes home with you. Oh, my front desk mentioned that she might be moving to Vegas in like a month. Oh my God, right? So there's all of that comes home with you, and it's hard to turn that off. And so that's why I personally think delegation at home and home services can help alleviate some of these like mental load problems, because again, when my husband was like, you're not doing anything well, it's like, well, that's because I'm trying to do multiple things and multitask, but my brain is over here and I'm supposed to focus over here, but I just can't do the multitasking well, right? And so that's kind of that's what I think is a big difference.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Let's talk about specifically the Mommy Dentists in Business Network. I think it's an great idea. How has building this community really helped people? And let's say you become a member of the community. What can you expect?
Sure. Well, let's just say I want to start with a story, and I'll make an analogy because this analogy makes it pretty clear. It's like in Chicago, I opened up, or maybe not opened up a coffee shop, but I had opened my doors to let other doctors in. I invited them to come to my office, sit down, and have a cup of coffee in my lobby. Right. And we had like just 1 hour a day. And we talked about, oh my God, let me show you my case. Oh my God, this is what happened. This mom came in with 3 kids and they had lice. Oh my God. Like funny stories like that. Right. So we're sharing, but we realize like we feel so much better knowing that I'm not alone, or I'm not the only one with a crazy patient, or I'm not the only one that made a mistake on this filling,
Right.
or whatnot, right? And then they're like, oh, well, we really want a space of our own. And they're inviting all their friends, and we open up a coffee shop, and I'm still serving black coffee because we don't have money to have lattes and mochas and croissants, right? And they're like, but then our coffee shop gets filled with people because all their friends are like, we want to come too. And there's a line out the door of people wanting to come into this coffee shop to be like, hey, I want in. I want to be a part of this party. I want to show you my cases too. And I want to talk about my kids. I want to talk about this. So that's how it kind of started. And then as we expanded, we have volunteer leaders in a lot of our communities throughout the United States. So we are spread all over the US and Canada. And our volunteer leaders, there are a lot of women that are natural born leaders. and now they have their own little coffee shops in all the different little towns and states and cities.
Wow.
You got Houston with 300, 400 people, New York, LA, Chicago, Canada, Toronto, whatever. So then they get together socially, 2 times a year. And then we throw on our large, large events. And so we have a free Facebook page of 10,500 plus, but we also have a second private group that they pay a membership fee because, again, the founding members who came to the first coffee shop, they're like, Grace, you shouldn't be paying for this coffee and food out of your own pocket. And now we need a barista, to vet all these people, right? So we have a team. We had to get AGD approval to get CE. We put on podcasts and webinars, but we need money to do it, right? Because the community's asking for these products. And so therefore our membership was formed that way. And so all the members, when they're paying for their membership, they're helping us build our platform. We work with over 60 to 80 partners in the dental orbit and outside. So meaning all the different manufacturers, Solventum, Bisco, GC, et cetera. And then we work with distributors and then technology companies and whatever the orbit of dentistry is. But then we also work outside. So we work with partners that will throw shopping events, right? Like Louis Vuitton or Anthropologie, things that women like to do. We'll reach out to online businesses like Rent the Runway for women, like right now for holiday, that they don't need to buy a fancy dress to go to that party. You can rent one. So they're giving us a discount, right? So we'll do seasonal promotional things. We'll work with children's like toy stores and things like that so that we can really help fulfill the needs of the motherhood side as well, and not just the dental side. So that's what makes us really unique in that everything we really do is based on the community and what the community is looking for and asking for. And it's like a grassroots movement, if you will. And we stick together, and we call ourselves a beehive, and that's what we do.
I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. What do you think? And I'm sure you get feedback, but what do you think are some of the top support or resources that members have found the most valuable? Is it the mentorship? Is it
It's
the
the
CE stuff? What
It's
is it?
it's the camaraderie, to be honest. We poll them all the time, and they're like, we love the sisterhood, the community, and they're actually hard science. Harvard has done research for women and women's health, and they're saying that for women, having communities and having friendships, just for female friendships, the correlation between having a community of women and their relationships, friendships, makes them healthier, and that correlation is stronger than the correlation that that links smoking to cancer. And so we also have noticed that because of this community and because they can come and share, they can share anything if they want to vent or if they're sick and they want prayers or they want to talk about their elderly parents, right? We're called the sandwich generation. We are having to raise our children, but also take care of our aging parents, right? So we talk about all these different things on top of the dentistry, on top of what it's like to be a practice owner or an associate. So that place to be able to ask questions, have them answered in a non judgmental way, right? Because how many online forums have we been where people are not so nice, right? Or people are not very friendly, or it's the opposite effect. So we stress the importance of no toxicity. We are a professional organization, so please treat each other with respect and be professional. Like, I will not tolerate bullying. I will not tolerate negative talk. And we have kicked out over 2,000 people, to be honest.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So we draw a hard boundary, we draw a hard line,
Good.
and we say we do not tolerate this. And if you cannot accept that, then there are other communities you can be a part of and behave that way, but not
Right.
here.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's great. And I think that's probably hard for you to sometimes stay on top of, and just you got to have somebody like all the time monitoring this stuff, right?
Well, you ask a very good question in that because the community is safeguarding the space, they all watch out. And then they'll let us know, they'll let the team know and flag it, or they'll reach out to that member and say, hey, you might want to rephrase this. You probably didn't realize you're coming across this way. We're just trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But the the hard part about typing on a keyboard is that there's no intonation, reflection of how you're saying it. And so we just, maybe you're having a bad day, right? And you're allowed to have a bad day, but we want to give our members an opportunity to go back and rephrase things. And if they're like, no,
Right.
this is what I meant, then we're like, you know what?
Okay.
Well, we can't have you here then.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's very, very important. We've got a group as well for just a growth network, and we have to do the same things. It's just, some people just get carried away. So it's very good that you safeguard that for people so they feel safe. I want to switch a little bit back to kind of some advice. We've got a
Yeah.
lot of dental moms and even, dental
Yeah.
dads too out there. And
Absolutely.
what would you say for dentists that are just starting out,
Mm.
especially those considering parenthood? What's the single most important mindset, maybe, or strategy that you would share?
So if you're just starting out as a parent, it's the first thing, especially if you're a practice owner, the first thing you think about is who's going to cover my leave or what's going to happen to my patients, right, when I'm gone. So prepare for that. You have 9 months to prepare for that, by the way, right? If all things go according to plan. So the sooner you plan, the better off you are. And if you know you're about to even start planning to plan for a family, then start planning what to do with your practice before you're even pregnant, or if you're a man, before your wife is pregnant. But again, sometimes men's lives aren't as disruptive. But I will leave this little nugget. I've always gone into business in the mindset of I want a business that runs without me. I do not want to be the only operator, or I don't want the business to solely rely on me, because what if something happens to me? Then what happens to the business, right? So if you're listening and you truly have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're truly an entrepreneur, and again, think about it. Think about, how am I going to make this business run without me? Because the most common complaint I get when I mentor women is, well, patients only want to see me. Patients only want me. Well, you'd be very surprised if you find the right associate and you find the right messaging, and yes, it's flattering. And yes, you feel very connected to your patients. And yes, you have your favorite patients, but they will see other providers if you do it the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah, there's another. I'm all about books today, I guess, but it's called a book called E Myth Revisited, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it has nothing to do with dentistry, but it has a lot to do about business and how you set up your business to run without you, and you work more on the business versus in the business. Now, with dentistry, it's a little different, but you can get a lot out of that. And I think also, from the business side of things, when you go to sell a practice, for instance, like you did, if it's you and you're doing everything, and the new owners are going to be like, well, wait a minute, if she leaves, are all the patients going to leave too? I mean, is everything just tied to this one person? And if you build a practice like that, when it is time to sell it, it will be more valuable if it can run without you. It's kind of a plug and play situation. Would you agree with that?
100%. And that was the strategy. And when you have multiple locations and you're trying to scale, you can't be the operator. You just can't, especially if it's three or more. And I would have to say that when I sold, I did not sell to a DSO. I had sold to my colleagues, two pediatric dentists that were partners, and they had two locations as well. And they were far from my offices. And I I had built and structured my practices, and the selling point was, look, you guys, you don't even have to step foot into these offices. I was like, it is designed to run without you. You are buying a machine. And I said, you will never get this in this city in pedo ortho. So this is a chance of a lifetime. And so you have to create your own leverage. And we could have a whole other podcast on that. But creating value and building leverage and negotiating. I did not use a broker. I walked away with my walkout price. And it's all about how you negotiate and leverage and position it. And so think about it again, designing a business that you are not the operator. The CEO of United Airlines, he's not flying a plane. The CEO of Subway sandwiches, you think he's making sandwiches? I don't think so. So just wanted to put out, you are a dental practice owner, but there's no reason why you shouldn't consider yourself a corporate business owner or a big business. It doesn't have to be corporate, like a big business. Think big, because you can be intentional design so that you have better outcomes and position yourself for the best outcome, right? Like when I went to sell, I wasn't sick. It wasn't a fire sale, right? I had all the time in the world and I didn't have to sell. So there was that whole also, look, if you don't want to buy it, that's okay because I'll just keep going and I'll just make a third office and a fourth. So it's okay. But it's like buying a car, right? So that's where you have to think about different ways to create value for your own practice. But when I sold, I gave them the keys, the money hit my account, and I never went back again.
Wow, it's amazing. That's really cool. I think that, also in this book, this E-Myth Revisited along those lines is that, it talks about like building your business like it's a McDonald's, like it's a
Mm-hmm.
franchise where you build these systems and processes that you can almost plug people into. And so it's that mentality of, yeah, you're a small business, but build it, like you said, as a corporate entity, and how they do that just at a more personal level. I think it's just a great way to do business. So, um, how do you think the dental industry as a whole could do better to support women, moms, and just parent dentists going forward? What things can big organizations do?
Well, I think that right now this is a really sticky topic. It's a sticky situational conversation because right now in my Facebook group, we're talking right now about the ADA and what's going on
Oh
with the
yeah,
ADA, right? And
I'm hearing that in a lot of groups actually.
yeah, and so big
Yeah.
organizations, I think they need to listen. I think that they're slightly mismanaged. And I'm not talking about each state, right? Because each state organization runs itself, et cetera. I'm not talking about like California Dental Association. I'm not talking about, your state. I'm talking about the biggest one, which is the ADA. And I think what they really need to do, and again, this is just my own humble opinion, is they really need to like make some cuts, as in, do they really like all the things that they're doing? Do they really need to do all of it? And how about listening to the dentists that are working every day, seeing patients every day, the everyday dentist? What about us and what we need and what we want? Are you listening? Right? Like, are you working to get more insurance reimbursements up? What are you doing to look out for the everyday dentist? And are you hearing us? And I think that it's because there's like a communication gap, how to bridge that gap. And if they are doing great things, are you bridging that gap? Because the ADA monthly newsletter that comes to my house, that's only like 4 pages long. I mean, there's really, I mean, I look through it and I'm like, well, does it make me want to renew my membership? I renew my membership because I believe in the political actions committee. But the hearsay of everything else around and the mismanaged money and all that, like, it's like, okay, they sold the ADA building in Chicago, but why did they sell it? Tell me why. Do we really know why? Why'd you need all that money? Why? We're not being told the truth. There's no transparency or lack of transparency. And that's what I think makes everyone
Yeah,
disgruntled.
I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's unfortunate, I think, but I still think it's fixable for them as well if they
It
would do
is.
kind of what
If,
you're talking about, listen, and
yeah, if they
yeah, yeah.
listened and they did a better job with the communication gap, I think that they can totally turn it around.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, look, we're going to need to wrap this up. I really appreciate your insights today. And I would love to, maybe in a few months, check back in with you, just kind of see how things are going. But can you tell people if they want to get involved in your network, whether it's the free Facebook group or the paid membership, what's the best way to find this and get a hold of you guys?
Oh, well, thanks so much, Chris, for the opportunity. And if you're interested, please go to our website, mommydibs.com. You'll find all of our information there. We run really amazing events, especially our CEO Roundtable, which is meant for entrepreneurs and for business owners. Uh, Again, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, and you can always email info@mommydibs.com, and we would really welcome you with open arms.
Awesome. We'll be sure to put all those links in all the show notes as well. But for Dr. Yum and myself, thank you so much for listening in for another episode of the No BS Dental Growth Podcast. Make sure you subscribe or like or share so that you're notified when we drop a new episode. And until next time, talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Dental Marketing Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.kickstartdental.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you are ready to grow your practice, then you might want to schedule a free strategy session with us. Just go to kickstartdental.com and click the free strategy session button and give us 15 minutes of your time to change your practice forever. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Podcast by Kickstart Dental Marketing, where dentists go to win online.